Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I can't believe it's already Friday. I am so happy that you are joining us today for Authority Marketing Live. And it would be super helpful if I actually had the branding for Authority Marketing Live. There it is. So you can tell the kind of day I'm having. Apparently, Mercury's in retrograde and my ClickUp has gone, well, it's clicked up on itself. And so it's been a day of tech support and confusion. But we are going to be very clear soon because we are going to find out from today's guest what the success factor really is. And so I'm so excited to bring on Dr. Ruth Gotian, and we are going to have a fantastic chat and hear this wonderful, fabulous author is to grace the stage. Welcome.
Hello, greetings from New York, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited because you've got some secrets that you're going to spill all about the success factor.
And they're good stuff. It's not gossip. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's just dive right in. So, what's the success factor that we need to have in order to be successful?
Yeah, there's actually 4 of them, but let me back up. I've been studying this for a long time because I've always been obsessed with success. Why do certain people have it? Why the rest of us aren't able to get it? What is it that we don't know that they know? What have they figured out? So I, at the age of 43, went back to school to study this, and I actually got my doctorate in it. So I took a deep, deep dive into this. And I've been studying extreme high achievers ever since. Astronauts, Nobel Prize winners, Olympic champions, NBA champions, CEOs, senior political officials, people from all over the world. And I realized that the Nobel Prize winning scientist is just like an Olympic champion figure skater, exactly the same.
Wow.
And that's when I realized that success can be learned. And if success can be learned, I'm an adult educator. I know how to teach it. So I wrote the book, The Success Factor, been going all over the world talking about it, writing about it, to anybody who will listen, because I don't feel anyone wakes up in the morning aiming to be average. I think people want to be successful and they're tired of throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're hoping to do more things. And, we try the habits of successful people and that doesn't work. Right. So wake up at 5 a.m. because that's what the billionaires do. Yeah, that works great if you go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. But if you are a night owl and don't go to bed till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the habit of waking up at 5 a.m. is not going to work for you. You need more than 2, 3 hours of sleep. So it's not about copying habits. It's about emulating mindsets. I'm happy to spill what the 4 are.
Yes. Okay. Well, first, I want to stop and I want to just acknowledge what you just said, because that is something that, as somebody who is a night owl, that is near and dear to my heart. It's like when I started, when I became an entrepreneur and I'm reading all these things and it's like, well, you got to wake up at 5 in the morning to start your day. And I was like, that sounds like pulling out my fingernails. That's torture. So, not emulating what they do, but changing your mindset. Okay. Yeah. So what are the things that we need to do? What are these 4 magic
So there's 4 things. And the first one is your motivation. The problem is we might have been tapping into the wrong motivation all this time. There's different types of motivation. Usually people want to do things and do it well because of the prestige or the bonus or the promotion or the diploma on the wall. The problem, that's called extrinsic motivation.
Okay, so on the outside of us.
On the outside.
Something. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The problem with that is that's when other people are judging us. And that's fine in the short term, but that's not sustainable over time. And in order to be successful, you need to tap into the motivation that you can continue long term. And that's what we call intrinsic motivation. It comes from within. It's that fire in your belly. It answers that question, why? It's not about the diploma or the Nobel Prize or the Olympic medal. It is not about that. There's a bigger reason why you want to do it. It's the reason you were put on this earth. It's the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning. It's the last thing you think about before you go to sleep. You have a hard time quieting your mind. This is what drives people. So, for example, I asked some of the scientists, I said, well, how'd you get into cancer research? And they would tell me about a family member who suffered from cancer. And they don't want anyone else to have to go through that kind of suffering because it impacts the person and the family.
And that's
They
very
don't want anyone
important.
to do that.
Right.
That's their fire. That's their intrinsic motivation. They are not trying to do it for the Nobel Prize because most of them are never going to get it.
Right. But let's talk about the Olympian, for
Mm-hmm.
example,
Yep.
because you think like the medal, get the
Yep.
shiny thing at the end. So
Yep.
what could potentially drive an Olympian to do it? I mean,
It's that love of the sport, right? So I was talking to Scott Hamilton, who is an Olympic champion figure skater. He won the gold medal in 1984 in men's figure skating. Now, he had a very difficult life growing up. He was in the hospital for most of his childhood, very, very sick. And his parents were at his bedside all the time. And the doctor said, this is ridiculous. He needs an ounce of a normal childhood. Some ice skating rink just opened up close by. Go just take him there. And the parents took him there. And before you know it, he was good. And he said, I was normal. I'm not this kid in the hospital. I'm not that sickly kid anymore. I'm just like a regular kid. And being a regular kid was just so motivating for him that he started doing it more and more. And before you know, he got good. He got really good. And that kept pushing him more and more and more. And if you ask him, he actually kept his medals, all of his world champion, national champion, all those medals. He had it in his underwear drawer for a long time. And he actually gave all of them away, all of his medals away. He said it was too suffocating. He said it's all at the Figure Skating Hall of Fame. That's where his medals are. And all of the athletes who I interviewed, they don't put their medals on display. Only two of them had it on display. Everyone else, Apollo Anton Ono, the most decorated Winter Olympian, he had it in the sock drawer, right? Zaza Pachulia, he's a two-time NBA champion. Those rings are in some safe. They're not wearing it. They're not on display. So all of them just put it, they put it somewhere because they told me, they were very clear to me. It's not about the medal. That's a chapter in my life, not the entire story. And the reason that they were so good, and they are so good, is that when they decided to retire from whatever they were doing, there was always something else that they wanted to do next. This was the chapter. That chapter is over. It's now a new chapter that I'm doing, right? So Scott Hamilton, we were talking about, started a whole foundation to raise money for cancer research. He is a multi-time cancer survivor. He started the Scott Cares Foundation. Dr. Charles Camarda, who is an astronaut, right? He went up after the Columbia disaster. When he retired from NASA, he started a foundation called the Epic Education Foundation in order to get children to think bigger and bolder and take risks in their thinking and be more curious and not play it so safe anymore. They all had something they wanted to do next. And that's why it's so important. And that's what they're now intrinsically motivated to do.
Okay. So we've got the first one.
You got the first one.
We got the first one.
So the second one, yes, the second one is they outwork everyone. And I don't mean that they are working 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
They actually think differently. So it's really the way they approach challenges, right? So we were talking about everyone having tech challenges right now. And if I had a tech challenge, which is not my forte, I'd be like, forget this. We're just going to reschedule. This is not for me, right? But then there are other people that say, oh, wait a minute, I got to figure this out, because they fear not trying more than they fear failing. I have to figure this out. This is the puzzle I need to figure out. What is the strategy I haven't thought of yet? I will figure it out. I just haven't figured out the strategy yet. Mm-hmm. So they don't give up as easily. And that's what's so important. So Dr. Peggy Whitson, an astronaut, she's a biochemist, and she was applied to be a NASA astronaut, was not accepted, but she was working as a biochemist at NASA for many, many years.
Mhm.
And then she applied again to be an astronaut because this was her dream, and she was rejected. And she applied again and was rejected. Now, Melanie, I don't know about you, but if I've been rejected for a role multiple times, I don't know if I would run to reapply.
My pride would be so hurt.
But she said there are things I learned on the ground that I can now use here. She kept applying for 10 years until she got accepted. And you know what? It's a good thing that Dr. Peggy Whitson did not give up like some of us would have given up, because ultimately, this person who had to reapply for 10 years became the first female commander of the International Space Station, a role she held twice. She spent more days in space than any American astronaut of any gender.
Hmm.
And this astronaut, who was turned down for 10 years, ultimately became NASA's chief astronaut in charge of all the astronauts.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
fear not
Amazing.
trying more than you fear failing.
Okay. So
That's 2.
wow. Okay, that's 2. All right, number 3. Let's go.
Number 3. So this is that strong foundation which you're constantly reinforcing. What you did early in your career, you're going to do later in your career. Doesn't matter if you won an 8, 9 NBA championships. Doesn't matter if you won that Nobel Prize. You are not resting on your laurels. The NBA champions, their warm-ups are identical to the ones that you would see in any junior high gym. Identical. They do the same warm-ups and the same layups. They just have better equipment and fancier sneakers. But they're not doing their warm-ups. In fact, when I spoke to Ryan Millar, who is a 3-time Olympian and won the gold medal in volleyball for men's volleyball, he told me that one of the warm-ups that they do is something called pepper, which is ball control, the most important thing for volleyball players. He said he did that in his backyard with his brother when he was 7 years old. Hasn't changed. Hasn't changed. Scientists are still doing experiments. They're designing them, doing them. Yeah.
So it isn't that so you mentioned resting on your laurels, but it's also sticking with the foundation and not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the people who I spoke with was Neil Katyal, who argued 45 cases before the Supreme Court of the United States. He said all 45 cases, he does the same prep. He has a binder with every question that he might get asked and the answer to it. And he brings that, puts it on the table in front of him before he presents his case to the Supreme Court. He said he's never opened that binder, but just having it and preparing it prepared him for the actual case. And then he does multiple moot courts, which are simulated court environments. He does 5 of them before any case. Early in his career, he did 15. The point is he's still doing them. And last but not least, if you are Neil Katyal's children the night before the opening arguments, your bedtime story becomes the opening arguments. Because Neil Katyal said if a child can understand it, the court will understand it. And he has done that for every single one of those 45 cases.
That's an amazing story. I love that. And what you're saying is it's not only don't rest on your laurels, remember your foundation, but also keep practicing.
Yeah.
And keep learning.
Always.
And don't just coast.
That's right. And you got that last one. So that last element of success, that last success factor is the continuous learning. And what we know about adults, I told you I went back to school at 43 and I was working full time and had my family. And it's insane. It's crazy. And adults are not meant to sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day. Hell, we're not even meant to sit at our desk all day. But we're certainly not meant to be in the classroom. Our learning is done differently. It's done through what's called informal means. And what we know is that adults learn differently. And I'm not talking about you're an auditory learner and I'm a visual learner. No. What I'm talking is the way we take in information, the way we process information. And all of us do it differently because we have what's called different loads on our lives, right? Some of us have young children, some of us have elder care, some of us have long commutes, some of us work from home. We can't all learn in a one size fits all model. So some people like live webinars such as this one. Hopefully people are learning good stuff here. And other people prefer podcasts, and other people like to go to conferences and workshops or read articles or read books such as The Success Factor, or listen to lectures or talk to people. And that's what I realized, is that all of the successful people surrounded themselves with a team of mentors. And that's why it's so important to surround yourself and know how to meet interesting people. And I tell people, if you are the most interesting person in the room, if everyone in the room does exactly what you do yourself a favor and go find yourself another room, because you don't need to be in that echo chamber of hearing what you already know, because you don't know what you don't know. So you need to go find another room to be in. And if you don't know how to start these conversations with strangers, Melanie, I gave you that link, right?
There you go.
There you go. ruthgotian.com/conversation. There are over a dozen of my favorite conversation starters where you don't have to talk about the weather.
Awesome. Okay. So in the last couple of minutes, this book is clearly a gem because it is going to provide people with the answers to the questions that many of us in the business world have asked ourselves. What separates people from success and mediocrity?
Yeah.
So how, you said you've been going around the world talking about it. What other things have you done to market your book?
So the marketing has been incredible. I've done about 140 podcasts. I've been writing in Forbes and Psychology Today and Harvard Business Review and academic journals such as Nature to talk about the book. I have had, because of the incredible people who I've got to interview for the book, they're good people. They're not just incredibly accomplished people, they're good people. And many have become very, very good friends. And I am fortunate enough that they were willing to put a post on social media about the book with them holding the book. So I've had NBA champions and CEOs and Nobel Prize winners and Olympians who did it. And Zaza Pachulia, the two-time NBA champion, actually talked about the book on NBC Sports. So it's a hustle and a grind, and you just keep going.
Keep on keeping on.
Keeping on.
And I love that you said that, because so often authors think, okay, well, I wrote the book 6 months ago and now I can't promote it anymore.
Oh, no.
Exactly. So how long have you been promoting your book for?
So the book came out in January, so that's a little over 7 months.
Yeah.
It's not at the same pace as it was.
That's fair.
But there was a lot of pre-work before the launch, which was important. But now it's still continuing. I'm still doing podcasts. I'm still doing webinars. I'm still doing keynotes. So there's still a lot of it. It's not at that same hectic pace. But now people have already started hearing about the book. And now I am writing a lot of articles about pieces of the book that I see have really resonated with people, because people have reached out to me and they tell me what really mattered to them and what was important and what was really an aha moment for them. And I said, well, if it's an aha moment for you, it must be an aha moment for other people. And then I start writing a bunch of articles on it.
I love that. Okay, now I've got one last question for you.
All right.
What do you want to be known for?
So my mentor, when I decided to go back to school and I was picking a dissertation topic, he didn't tell me what to do and what not to do, but he said to me, do something important, not just interesting. And I really think that people want to be successful. And I want to be known as the person who cast that pebble, created that ripple effect, and created the opportunity and the blueprint to be more successful for anybody who wants to achieve more.
Beautiful mission. Dr. Ruth Gotian, thank you so, so much for coming on today. You can grab conversation starters right here. And where can people make a purchase of your fantastic book?
Wherever you love buying books, it is there. Anywhere you are in the world, if you want to know where that is, if you go to ruthgotian.com/book, it'll give you the sites all over the world. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, independent bookstores. You name it, it's there.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everyone.